when you're trying to wake the hell up, these people.
But I got people who want to call me and pay me to do things like that for them, and I don't want to do that. If I wanted to do that, I'd just be a damn lawyer, right?
Well, yeah, yeah.
So, and I have a problem with that kind of thing. I don't get asked money from anybody, and frankly, the suits that we have done when they stole Ted's car and all that stuff, they wanted to split it with me. It's like, dude, it's your car, your stuff. I don't, but so okay, I'll take a proportion or the odd something,
Yeah, well, I mean, if you're
arranged it, I bought I arranged the T-shirt and manufactured and produced it, so I guess I might as well get some cut off the per diem, right?
What's the T-shirt?
Just making a joke.
Oh. I took you literally. Sorry.
Yeah. Well,
I gotcha.
I would be good. Yeah, meaning I produced it, put the whole thing together, kind of, and directed the show, I guess. But the victim to me is the guy who really is supposed to get the stuff. So I'm not. Yeah, a lawyer probably would take half of it, right?
Oh yeah, easy, if not more.
That's not what it's all about to me, and never really was. It just happened that way, Never. It just happened.
It's good. That works out. I mean, it works out good for everybody, seems to me.
Well, it does, and mainly my local friends. They've all woken up quite a bit over the years because they see what's going on here. I mean, hell, my idiot, stupid little sister will still tell me, "You gotta lose your house." Well, when? When are they going to do that? I mean, it's been like going on 11 years. So when is this going to happen?
Yeah, really.
Everybody knows you got to pay your taxes. You lose your property. And she still says the same stuff, even though she knows what happens in John's cases. She knows some of the other people and what's gone on there. She knows about code enforcement stealing boats and cars, and we sued them and got property back for tons of money for it, things like that. But, she just thinks we got one on a snafu or something. But technically they can do this stuff because they're government. That's what the city's there for, is to steal automobiles out of your carport and threaten you.
She's like the majority of the people.
Oh, she's brainwashed so bad.
Well, that's my whole family is like that. They don't want. I don't talk to them anymore because of it.
But you can't get at that point. You still got to talk to them.
No, I don't have to. I only have cousins. Everybody else is, died, and so I don't need to speak to them. They're idiots.
So you've just casted out the extended family, huh?
Yeah, I guess. I have better family here in the groups that we are, participating in this call with. You guys are my family, and I love it. I have my son, of course, but and I have some cousins out in Oklahoma I still talk to occasionally. They'll send me a happy birthday thing, every once in a while, an email. But that's it. I don't have a close-knit family anymore. They've all died off, so. Just me and my son, and that's it. Some cousins.
We're still close, I mean, so brothers. He's kind of coming around, sort of. My older sister's always been pretty cool, but she's just lazy when it comes to really reading anything. But she agrees with the stuff, that kind of thing,
Mm-hmm.
But they don't really want to do nothing about it because they're comfortable. Yeah. That's what most of my friends.
So they get that letter. They get that first letter from the IRS or whatever, or the state or the county or whatever.
Oh no, they're paying the taxes, man. So they ain't gonna have no problems. They pay their taxes on time. That's how good they are.
But a lot of people that do pay their taxes on time and think they're doing right, the IRS will come after them too sometimes and then smack them in the face and wake them up. That's how you get woken up, because you did everything right and they're coming after you anyway because they're screwed up.
Well, so far that hasn't happened to anybody real close to me yet. So far the IRS hasn't messed with any of them. They don't mess with me. So I've never had a dog in that fight, I mean, I thought my attention was the property tax issues for so many things. I mean, back in the early days when I first bought the place back in the 80s, I guess, it wasn't that bad, $500-600 a year. So, it wasn't that big of a deal. But when you got up in that early 2000s and stuff, man, it was like $4,000, $3,800, $4,200. And that's what ticked me off. Usually, because I hate to go in debt. I needed a roof on the house, so I thought, well, we'll see if we could save money. We could do it this winter. Got friends that work construction, so it wouldn't be tough to get the labor. We just want to make sure we can get all the materials and, pay everybody a little something, do all that good stuff. And it seemed like every time I got close enough to pulling it off, man, the stupid property tax thing would come in and take, half the money I was going to use. Now I can't do nothing, right? I mean, I don't have enough money to pull it off. So that's what really got my interest in it there in the early 2000s. And I had a neighbor friend that I grew up with her daughter and her son, went to school with them, and Mr. Vanderheyden had died in the late 90s there, 97, 98, and it's about 2000, 2001. She's walking the dog, talking to some of the other neighbors out on the street corner there down the street. So I walked over to say hello, and informed me that she might have to be selling the house and move, because she couldn't afford to stay there. And I was like, what do you mean? The house is bought and paid off for, man. Mr. Vanderheyden pays off in the 80s, right? So what you got, electric bill and phone and cable, and that's the property taxes, like $5,000 is the lakefront property. I thought to myself, that cannot be the founding fathers' intentions, that this woman here at 60-something years old, raised her family, did her due, has to sell off family home because she can't pay the taxes? Makes no sense at all, does it?
No.
So that's what really got me into it, around 2001 or 2, where I really started reading this stuff. And 4 years of my spare time, it wasn't like I was doing it 8 hours a day, 5 days a week, reading it for 4 years, but you know how it goes. You just do it spare time off and on here and there, and after about 3 or 4 years, it's like, I think I got this. I found tons of cases, explain how the tax process works. I was like, there's just no, how do they do this then on a non-commercial piece of property? And talking to one of my friends here locally, and he's like, well, do a public records request to the property appraiser and ask him, what statutes they're using. I was like, what? That's a good idea. So I did a public records request to the property appraiser in 2004-ish, 5-ish, and I hit him up with another one. I wanted the assessment, too, under the 193.011. I really wanted to see that because of some of the things it asked for, name of the business, income made from sale of property, net gross proceeds, all kinds of crap was in this just value thing going on. And I was like, how could they make an assessment on your home with this? This doesn't work, right? So I did a request for that. Next day, I went down and hand-delivered them and left them at the property appraiser's office. Next day, the actual property appraiser himself is leaving messages on my machine that afternoon, wanting me to come down and talk to him.
Wow, really?
I get home about 1:30, and my friend Jerry's with me. We were out dilly-dallying around, had lunch and what have you, and came back to the house, and I hear the machine's like, dude, check this out, So, well, let's call him. So we called him, and he's wanting me to come down and talk to him. He's like, I don't want to come down and talk to you, man. You just tell me the statute so I can go check it out and just put the assessment in an envelope and mail it here. That's all. If there's any postage I need to pay, let me know. And so he's like, no, really wants me to come down there, and he basically threatens me, really, that if I don't come down and talk to him, he's going to give my public records request to his attorneys. Right away, the red light.
Wow, how intimidating.
Why would this public official, who's been the property appraiser now for like 15, 16 years here in this county, have to give my public records requests, which are very simple, to his attorneys? Why can't he just tell me what it is? He's a property appraiser. Shouldn't he know what statutes he's using to levy this tax on these people's homes?
Yeah.
And be able to put the assessment, this paper, other than this one statute, in an envelope and send it to me.
Yeah.
That's what made the red flag go off. I said, hey, we'll be down there in a little bit, So, because that's, like I said, I knew something was up now, and I thought there was a good chance to figure this thing out. So I went down there and had this conversation with him. Went about an hour and a half, where I was basically having an educated conversation based on the tax code. If 193.032 makes it clear that all property must be assessed according to its status as follows, and goes through all these commercial things, residential, agricultural, and residential, stuff, And I was like, okay, and situs means location of the business kind of thing, then how does my property have a taxable situs then, since there is no this type of activity going on there? And so he tried to buffalo me with this residential thing. Like, dude, according to this, the definitions over here, that residential property is considered to be anything with 9 units or fewer. That sounds like an apartment building of some kind. So how does my house come under residential? And he was real shaky about answering that one. But is when we moved into the exemption section, which I talked about earlier, that if the Constitution and the exemption stuff all makes it clear that if I was a taxpayer, my household goods and personal effects under Article 1, Section 6A of the state Constitution, and Article 7, 4B, I believe, is the household goods one, and the 196, 181, and 196, 032, I believe, or 031 is the residential, the permanent residence exemption. So in other words, here's basically the way the tax code makes it clear, is anything you used as to live with is not to be on the tax code at all, okay? It's to be, the assessment roll. It's not supposed to be on the assessment roll. There's a bunch of places that talk about anything like that. It's not to even be included in the assessment roll. No need to exempt it, no need to do anything. It's just not supposed to be flat on the assessment roll. That's what homestead exemption basically is the way to exclude the business part of the property from the part that you use as the living side, the right side, the part they can't tax. That's what homestead exemption is all about to start with. That's why filing a homestead exemption form on your home in some neighborhood, suburb somewhere is a complete joke. They have no business even talking to you. They're having you fill out any kind of tax forms there. That's exactly the way you have to handle it, too. And you didn't volunteer because you got a Social Security number, or because you filed your deed in the deeds office, you gave it to the state, now they own it. All this hokey-pokey crap is all junk, okay? They're just plain falsifying their records, misclassifying your property for financial gain and simulating a legal process to collect a fee they have no authority to collect, which is basically theft. And if you line it up that way and support it with the case law in your state, statutes and the tax code and the definitions, and make a clear, concise layout in your complaint to where any idiot under a bridge, homeless guy, could read your complaint and go, well, that makes sense. Now let's see what the other side has to say. And when the other side can't stand up, put no constitution on the table that says, yeah, every living, breathing man, all the sovereign people's property is all taxable, something here that I could read and say, holy crap, I guess I owe a tax, right? Or I guess I'm a taxpayer because I own this house. Or I'm a taxpayer because I got a job, right? I mean, there's nothing in the tax code at all that would ever lead me to believe that I owe a tax to any of these schmucks because I'm alive and breathing, exercising rights to own property, enjoy property, procure property, and be as wealthy as I want to be. Yeah. It's impossible to still act within accordance with that the founding fathers' intentions. That's all it boils down to.
God, I love having you on. It's so inspiring.
You have to be a complete idiot to believe anything differently.
That's right. Well, we are an inferior species. So it takes a while for people to wake up. We've been duped for so long that it's, ingrained. It's hard to shake it off. It takes a while.
Yeah, I guess. I don't know. I've had a problem with it ever since I was a kid because, unfortunately, I did go to a Lutheran elementary school, and a sixth-grade teacher, Mr. Moser, and this is why I've never forgot his name. I can't even tell you who the rest of them were, but he did teach us the Constitution. It was a Christian elementary school, and he was basically teaching Mosaic law. He was showing how God wrote these commandments in the Bible and his laws of how you eat and live together and live among each other and stuff, and then showed us how the federal Constitution, just like what George Gordon would do. Excellent if you want to understand the theory of the Mosaic law in accordance with the American law thing, I think George Gordon has some really great audios where he explains it very well. But that's the key. Once you understand that, the rest is a breeze. Once you understand what property ownership is, the allodial title, which everybody has, it's the only way you can own property. I don't care what anybody else says. I got case law all over the place. It makes it clear that everyone owns their property in the allodial sense. It's the only way you can own property in this country. So to believe you don't have full title to it for whatever goofy reasons they tell you didn't file an affidavit of deed, you didn't stand on your right foot and rub the top of your head with your left hand and say mecca, mecca, high 3 times, that's why they're taxing your property. Or you didn't lean it all up with UCC forms and, what else, land patents and all this stuff. I mean, that's all crap, okay? That's not why they're taxing it. They're only taxing it because nobody knows what taxation is and how it works in this country. That's why they're doing it.
It's really something. I mean, well, but you know what? I feel positive because a lot of people are waking up. I mean, you can tell just by the amount of protesters you see protesting Hillary and Trump and all of them. People are waking up and, educating themselves. But we need to help make more.
Well, once again, I still think people are completely out of touch, though. They're still in this my side, your side thing. None of these people are taking the realms in their hands and going after their officials.
No.
That's where you're going to change it, man. It's using the court systems, whether you like it or not, and it's code pleading. Whether you like it or not, that's the way you have to learn how to do it. And it's not impossible, but it's not like easy. It's not something you're going to figure out in a day or a week or a month even.
Some people have a real mental block.
Well, yeah. To me, it's like anything else. I have friends that I've known all my whole life that they learned 3 chords on the guitar when they were 16, and to this day, that's all they can do. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
People just aren't inclined for it, possibly. Maybe they don't have the critical skills that are needed to really put this together in their head. But there's, that's where people just sort of have to help people, and the only people you can really help are the people, to me, that you can sit at the table with.
Yeah.
I have
that you could trust.
Well, it's not even so much of that. Just the fact that right there, you can see their eyes. You can see if they're really getting it or not. When I talk to people on the phone 2,000 miles away, I really got no idea if they're catching on to what they're saying or not. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
It's just different when you can sit right there with them and look at them at the table and their mannerisms and things and how they handle themselves. It tells you a lot about people, of whether or not, can this guy get it? Can this guy make this work,
Let me ask you, do you ever deal with eminent or what do you think about eminent domain?
Well, eminent domain's okay if it's used properly. Once again, that's the only procedure that the Constitution gives government to take property from the people, and they have to give just compensation. So it shows there's no way the tax code can be set up to completely take your your property from you without anything at all and just leave you. Even all the case law I was reading, making it clear that even the tax code cannot be used to destroy businesses, and if it is, that law has to be struck down. But they do it all the time. They ruin people's lives over this stuff, okay?
Yeah, I know. You mentioned a lakefront property earlier. I remember not too long ago there was a property taken with eminent domain, and they fought, and the windup is that they took the property and surrounding properties so they could build a shopping center.
Well, like I said, yeah, it doesn't seem right, but once again, the process of that is if it serves a public function, then they can run the eminent domain thing, but it usually has to be something, though, like, really vital. For instance, let's say I live in the middle of this neighborhood here, and let's say this neighborhood flooded all the time when it rained, and some engineer said, hey, if we took old Steve's house in the middle of the neighborhood there and mowed it down, put a big retention pond there and all that stuff, we'd drain all it off there. They could probably eminent domain my home for that purpose. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
But they have to pay me just compensation, market price, all that kind of neat stuff, and they could probably do that. If they could prove to everyone that would serve the benefit, the health and welfare and safety of the people, which obviously when you got a neighborhood that floods during heavy raining and there's a way
Sure, I understand that, but a shopping center, I had a problem with that one.
I think that's a big, fat, abusive process, and once again, if the American people understood how their government operates, how to use the court systems, that thing could have possibly been stopped from the get-go, but no one probably knew how to do that.
I guess not.
They just went along with it because they say they can do it. They say they can do it.
Well, they fought them in court, but they used lawyers. I mean, all I read were articles that I didn't go there. It was another state, but I think if you're using a lawyer, they're going to pretty much throw you under the bus ultimately.
Man, even lawyers don't understand how their government operates on paper. You very rarely find ones that do. And how do you know them? Once again, does it say in the phone book the good ones, the bad ones? No, you just have to, like you say,
Yelp.
That's what I loved about the Graves' jurisdictionary course, how he kind of helps you understand what, even if you want to use a lawyer, what that lawyer should be doing.
Right.
It almost reminds you of the old stories when, the girl, daddy's credit card, she's in college, the car's not running right. She takes to some shop and some mechanic sees her coming with daddy's credit card and goes, well, the reason why your car won't start because you need a new transmission or something. And she goes along with that, and daddy goes, okay. So they put $4,000 worth of transmission in the car when it only needed an ignition switch or something. You know what I mean?
A new gas cap.
Yeah, crazy like that, but yet he just saw her coming because you had an ignorant woman that had no idea about mechanics, had no clue how the car operates, and daddy probably just as dumb on it too, but they got money, so no big deal, right? Little girl needs a car running, so do whatever it takes, and this mechanic just pockets, who knows, all kinds of money, probably didn't put a new transmission. It just gunk cleaned it up and sprayed it down, and it looks new, so, I mean, people do this stuff, and why would you think government idiots wouldn't do the same thing and convince you to pay tax on your home? You have to have a driver's license, and if you don't, we get to do evil, horrible things to you because you're not following the law.
It's terrible.
And you got a population full of people who wouldn't know law was climbing out of their butt.
We should open up a private school.
Private school?
Yeah.
Wow.
Teach government or jurisdiction and code pleading and everything you need to know to fight these people.
You can get that, buy the books and read them. You can get these paralegal courses. There are all kinds of neat stuff that really lays it out really well.
Yeah, but some people need an educator to help them and point things out.
They're great. Go take a paralegal course. That's easy. You don't need any special schools. You don't need some guru somewhere telling you how to do this. You can figure it out for yourself if you just apply yourself. And it's great if you got a brother, wife, whoever, someone around you that's into it. It's great then, but you can still do it by yourself. I did. I never got much of any help. I mean, I had my mentor buddies I could call up on the phone and say, hey, I'm reading this. What do you think it means? And get their thoughts on it. But that's about it. I mean, how else could it work any other way,
Yeah, that's
true. It's
true.
like playing a musical instrument. You're the one who has to go on stage and play it, I don't care if the greatest musicians in the world. Don't mean you're going to be as great a player as them because you sit and watch football games with them or you know them. You're going to have to acquire that skill on your own. You're the one who's got to sit there and make that instrument sound pretty. And if you don't, then you suck, right?
Right.
And that's kind of where this goes to. And maybe, like I said earlier, not everybody gets it. Just because you're 7 feet tall don't mean you're going to be a great basketball player.
Right.
So, just either you got the skills and the inclination and the natural talent, possibly, maybe, or you don't. Okay. So whatever. I mean, you could be completely dumb to law, but you might be really good at what you do. Maybe you're a great cook or you're whatever you do for a living or hobbies, but maybe this might not be your thing, but then it might be. And you might suck at everything else, but you'll be good at the law thing. You'll be able to defend your rights, but you suck at marriages, you suck at relationships, So you just have to sit down and apply yourself. And I don't believe you need a lot of people doing it. Anytime you look through history and find where change has been done, it was usually done by a very small part of the population.
Yeah.
Even the Revolutionary War, they say there was probably about 9-10 million people in the 13 colonies. Only 400 to 500,000 of them were actually out there shooting at the British. So if you had 10 or 20 people in every county, maybe even less, suing the municipality on a regular basis for falsifying their assessment rolls with all these homes on it, going after the code enforcement, using these ordinances on property that it could never apply to and show the abusive process.
Well, they'd probably kill you if you did that.
Well, no.
You get enough people doing it.
Well,
they would kill you.
Everybody. As long as you're reasonable, even at the early settlement table, they ain't going to kill you. But, yeah, if you want your $400 billion or something for what they did, they'll kill you for that. But if you just want something easy, come on, they're bringing in $5-8 trillion a year. To throw you 10, 20, 30, or even $100 million is just that's a small fraction. That's acceptable losses to them, okay? Just to keep their little scam rolling and to shut somebody up who really nailed them and really put it on the table and showed that these guys are way out of touch with what they're there to do.
Yeah.
And that's the whole cult key to anything else. It's like Al Capone or blackmailing him. You got his books. $2,000 a week for the rest of your life, Al. Otherwise, your books go to Elliot Ness, right?
Yeah, that's what happened. They got him.
And you're almost doing the exact same thing with them, just playing the same game. Got the goods on you. You want to go to prison. You want to lose your corporate charters. How's that sound? And they don't want that. They don't want to lose their pensions. They don't want to be thrown in prison for grand thefting, armed robbing property, committing conversions, and assaulting people, and all these things they're actually involved with in order to get this organized crime process to go down the way it does. Funny part is he's got American people who think it's some process of government. That's the part that gets me. That's who I want to jump. That's who I want to kick in the butt. I know the public servants are idiots, but it's the guy next door, the guy down the street who just pays this stuff without any understanding why he does it.
Yeah. Well, it's because his wife's going to divorce him if he doesn't. That's usually the case.
I'd be kicking that twit out anyhow then if she was that
That happens every day, with the IRS especially. You don't pay your taxes. Scares them. The wife thinks, we're going to lose everything. Everything is based on, stuff, materialistic shit.
Well, and they got the dumb twit believing that that's some process of law and government here. It's to make us homeless and destitute and destroy everything we've created over some money, Federal Reserve notes.
Right.
And that's how we protect your rights and your property rights and your freedom. In order to protect everyone's rights, we have to steal a few properties from the people so we can fund the system as opposed to protect the ones that can pay for it. That sure sounds like protection fee money to me, don't you think?
Yeah.
It kind of reminds you where you hear those stories where the gangster walks into the business and goes, hey, nice place you got here. Half your take every week and we can protect it. Hey, get the hell out of here, I'll shoot you. And then 3 o'clock in the morning, the Molotov cocktail comes through the business window and burns you out. The next day you're in there picking up through the sift and the same guy walks in and goes, damn, that's really terrible. You've been paying that protection fee. We could have protected you from this.
That's the government, yeah.
That's, well, like I say, it's not government. It's an organized crime syndicate.
Right. Well, Irwin Schiff called them the federal mafia.
Well, it's just, yeah, I don't even know if I want to label it except just organized crime and a bunch of ignorant, stupid people violating people's rights and getting paid to do so.
Yeah, that was his byline. Underneath that it said, organized crime begins with the federal government.
Well, that could be. That could be. I'd have to ask Lucky Luciani and Al Capone if that works that way. They would know.
I think the government took their lead from, Al Capone and them. They figured, look what they're doing with the bootlegging booze. Well, shit, we can do that too, legally.
Well, they learned how to do that from the government officials and judges that they were around. That's where they learned how to do it from. That's where it was going on first.
Oh, I thought it was them first.
No, man. Yeah, you could find yourself going way off back in the early 1800s with, judges and, corrupt judges and public officials that were, once again, dementing the system or using it in some form to control or financially enhance their position. That's why they put these laws, like the 42-1983 was put in play to give people a remedy to go after that type of activity. like I said earlier, problem we're having is nobody really uses this stuff and they don't use it very well.
What was that again? Title 42, 18 what?
1983.
1983.
And that one by heart, man. Same way you know your shoe size. You should understand that one, you know.
Okay.
But that's in. Then you got 1981, 82 can fit. There's 1985 and 6 can come into play. You just have to look at them and see if they come within the elements of that, and you can probably whip a count or 2 or 10 of them on them for those particular statutes also. Then you have the criminal code in Title 18 that I like to exploit as much as I can. Kind of call that the candy store, you know. The 241, 242 are actually the criminal statutes that sort of work with the 42, 1983 of deprivation of rights. And I go into the destruction or falsification of documents, fictitious obligations and false securities out of Title 18 there. And there's a few others that come into play to go after these guys in federal court to put, you know, a cause of action based in criminal statutes before the court and show how the byproduct of that was a violation of a right, a clearly established right. That's the whole key to doing a civil rights suit, pretty much. Or usually it's a due process issue where they just didn't, you know, do no due process usually. But I've seen them use it for cops that hurt people. You know, the lawyers have used them for that and been successful with them. So.
Charlene is asking here, has Steve ever changed his name or claimed his birth certificate property?
Nope.
Okay.
Why would Sovereign King have to do that?
Right.
When was the last time you heard King George or King Henry had to change stuff up, hawk his castle up with a UCC-1 form to keep his subjects away from it?
Well, you know, people think they have to turn this stuff in because they're not the owners of it. The government owns that stuff.
And they only got that because some chump has been telling them that, not because they read law and statutory processes and constitutional provisions that create a process for government to do that.
Okay.
That's all I can find when I hear people talk that stuff. That's why I just kind of go, God, another one of those.
Does anybody want to ask a question? Press star 8. We've already done an hour and a half. That just went by so fast. Jeez. Here we got Glenn Murphy has a question for you. Go ahead, Glenn. You've been unmuted. Can't hear you. You have a mute button on your phone, perhaps?
I don't think he was listening to us. He's probably off.
No, he's there. He's
Waiting.
on the phone.
Waiting for the delay to catch up and where he knows you're talking to him.
Maybe he didn't. Well, I don't know. You've been unmuted. Can you hear me, Glenn? I guess not. Okay, well, if you figure it out, was it a mistake that you hit star 8? Okay, well. Anybody else? Oh, Pave Bart. Okay. Hi, Bart. There you go. You've been unmuted.
Hooty hoo, hooty hoo.
Hey, it works.
Okay. Hey, Steve, nice to hear from you again.
This is my helicopter pilot, right?
Well, I'm not a pilot. I was the guy that sat between the pilots with a black and white shirt on, with the whistle in my mouth going, okay, you go to your corner, you go to yours, and quit fighting.
Oh.
Referee, okay.
Well, yeah, you come to that sometimes. Well, hey, I can't believe it took this long for you to get on Angela's call.
Oh, he's
or maybe
been
you've been on before and I missed it.
Yeah.
Well, if I were you, Angela, I'd have him on like every other week.
Oh, come on. I've tried to have him on so many times, and he,
Hey, he's
never can make it. He's busy. He's a busy guy.
He's too busy. He's busy beating the drum.
And then I heard he got shanghaied into Achilles call the other night, and I Skyped him. And I go, what's up with that? You can go on Achilles call, but you can't come on mine.
That's
now,
right. He was trying to sneak in one, right?
All these women fighting over me,
Yeah. Pass it on to the waitress. But now,
I asked her if she was a taxpayer.
Wow.
You have a comment or a question?
I'm just wondering why he hadn't put out what he gave to me to everybody.
What's that?
Well, I can't say. Steve would have to say that.
28-page essay. Everybody has it.
It's on the website right now. It's on my website right under the picture of Florida where Steve is
That's
featured.
free domain. Anybody can get it and have it. You ask me for it, I'll send it to you. And then, like I said, I know about 5 other websites that have put it up there over the last few years. So,
but actually, it's not free domain; it's public domain. However, thanks, Steve. And
Here, I'll put it up.
You still launching missiles and still playing?
Don't launch rockets. No, don't do shuttles no more. Still play around.
Did they kick you to the curb?
Well, I retired out of there. I did my 20 years in 2008 and just found better things to do, as we're talking about now.
Well, that's very good. And I'm glad you picked this as a better thing to do.
Well, it's something that's very important, I believe. I mean, you can't live life till you truly know what kind of world you live in, right?
Well, man. Oh, man. And what you got to let people know is, sure, everybody's, they're stupid and all this other stuff people say. And I go, yeah, it has nothing to do with the fluoride we've been drinking since, the 50s, and the vaccines. Have you seen the list? Holy Jesus.
Well, I have to say, I'm pretty good at staying away from that stuff. I have my Berkey water filters and stuff I've been using for 20 years now.
No, you do, because you know. What about Joe Bag of Donuts?
Oh, well.
I don't know.
Oh, yeah.
Lose, you lose, right?
Yeah, I don't know how to help them guys. I mean, I don't really know how to help much of it myself.
Well, you just tell as many people as you can that'll accept the information. If they don't accept it, oh, well. They had their shot.
No, Angeline, you're correct. Not everybody's ready to accept that.
At least you plant the seed, That's what I try to do. I try to plant seeds everywhere I go. I say questions. I ask questions that try to I hope that make people think. But sometimes it just goes right over their head. Hopefully, at some later date, it'll, pop into their mind and they'll be curious enough to look it up. That's all you can do.
Oh. Only thing I can say is, like I said before, don't believe anything anybody tells you. Don't even believe what I tell you. Don't believe nothing you can't prove to yourself in your own research, man.
Thank you.
And if you handle yourself that way, I think you'll be fine, We don't have to put up with this crap, man. We do have a great system of law that you can get to work for you if you understand how it works. You can force them to do the job.
Steve, it's like putting a motor back together. I can put it back together with the parts you gave me. It's a lot better if I use the manual.
Well, you should have the assembly manual, the tear-down manuals, and the specs and all that stuff.
Right. No, but what we're trying to do is people are trying to assemble the engine with no manual.
Well, I'm glad you brought that up because that reminds me. Hang on a second. I got an announcement to make. The people who really are interested in getting access to the law, I have a friend of mine that's got some DVD ROMs and some videos and some really nice CDs I hate to say what's all on it because a lot of it is stuff that I probably shouldn't be that we shouldn't be bootlegging, you might say. But American jurisprudence is the whole entirety thing in there, but it requires a browser that really works better on 32-bit operating systems. It'll work on Windows 10, 8, 7, all the way down to Windows 95. It'll give you access to American jurisprudence and all. But only on
32-bit?
Well, it will work on 62-bit if you load this XP virtual machine and some other type of crap you have to do. It's like you have to run 2 operating systems in order to get it to run. I got a few people that have gotten it working on 64-bit operating systems. It can be done, but...
That's right, you're the Apple guy.
Well, no, not at all. Not at all. I like 32-bit. I got all the above here, so I have no problem having a couple 32-bit machines. I can throw Windows 7 Pro in, load the American jurisprudence and the Supreme Court case disk browser stuff, and get that all working there so I can use it. And then there's all the litigation manuals for federal court, preparing for federal trial, the Ashley Lipton's book series on is it admissible, an evidence book,
wow.
How to write interrogatories, the statutes at large, the Internal Revenue Code from the 20s and 30s.
Steve, stop for a second. Take a breath. And you know what you're talking about? All these people that are sitting here listening to you? You're like, wow, that is rocket science.
Well, it's basically a legal law.
I'm overwhelmed.
Okay, we have other people with their hands up, and we've got like 18 minutes left to play.
And kick me to the curb, and I'll talk to you later.
I would never kick you to the curb.
Thanks, sweetheart.
Thank you.
Bye-bye.
Okay, next up, bye-bye. Next up, Glenn Murphy again. Did you get it to work this time? It sounds like you're trying. It's trying to. Something's not working right. Maybe you have a short in your mic or something. It's not coming. It's not working. I can see you're trying, but it's not working. There's something wrong with your mic, dude. I'll keep it open if you figure it out. I don't know what. Did you jiggle the wire a little bit? Maybe. I don't know. Oh well. I'll leave you unmuted, so if you figure it out, you can come on, okay? But next we're going to go up to West Washington State. Go ahead, you've been unmuted.
Hi, Angela. And,
Hi. Steve.
Yes, Steve. And thanks so much for this inspiring talk you have had for the last couple hours. But here comes a question totally away from rocket science, the basic one. I'm a man born free, without a name, without clothes on, without all the persona titles, a long time ago in another country, and set foot here on this continent over 40 years ago. I did not become a United States in capital letters citizen. Of course, I do have a Social Security number. Now, does all this, what you are addressing, Steve, also to this free man sitting here in this wonderful place I have enjoyed for so long? Or should I just say, I am just a corporate entity because I'm not a born natural American or naturalized.
Okay. So is this leading up to something here?
This is leading up to the question, am I able to apply everything that you talked about as well as a non-citizen?
Yeah.
And I believe you in my heart. You speak to my heart, absolutely. And I believe I have the answer, but I would like to have that confirmed by somebody like you.
Well, that's sort of what once again, 42, 1983, and even the 14th Amendment. People need to understand exactly why the 14th Amendment was put in play. It was after the Civil War. And when the Constitution was drafted in the late 1700s, people who really took their race literally, in other words, they believed they were created in the image of God. So if you weren't a white Caucasian guy, you weren't created in the image of God. So the black people, the Chinese people were all considered to be some other form. That's why things went the way they were. And then I guess obviously after about 70 years, someone said, hey, this really can't work that way. We can't have it to where, the blacks and the whatever you want to go with are not considered, don't have the same status as everybody else. And that's what the 14th Amendment was put in play for. In order for the system to be fair, they had to make it clear that everyone had the same rights as the white guy. And it's neat when you start reading these old statutes, they'll even actually say that same point. I believe it's 1982 or 81 there in Section 42. It actually uses the word saying that every person has the same rights as the white guy. I mean, it exactly says almost the exact same words in the statute. So that kind of gives you an idea. And plus, you have to remember, when they wrote the Constitution, this was a time where the mentality was to burn witches, okay? So you can see, I wouldn't even say the education level, but they all had their ways of looking at things. And, of course, as time went on, people realized this was all crap, right? But 14th Amendment was put in play to make sure that if you came into this country and applied for citizenship, that you would have the exact same rights as the white guy, okay?
Right, which I never did. I didn't apply for citizenship.
Well, I'm not sure the technicality side of it there, but the way I see it, America has to observe every living, breathing man have these substantive rights granted to you under God, no matter what.
Right.
And cases up the yin yang have clarified that since day one, pretty much, all right, and still do.
Mm-hmm. Right.
No one can deprive your rights because, I don't know, whatever. There's no reason. There's nothing in any law says, well, you can be deprived of rights because you wear your shoes backwards or whatever. I mean, it's just impossible. Otherwise, you're not equal under the law, then are you?
Right.
So you have to be equal. Everyone's equal under the law.
Okay, right. So that does tell us that I can apply.
Right.
Go ahead, Steve. I'm sorry.
I was just concluding the fact that there's no way a public servant can violate your rights because, like I said, you're black, you're Chinese, or whatever.
How about an illegal immigrant?
Right, exactly. I was going to ask that.
An illegal immigrant wouldn't have rights then here, would he? He's illegal.
See, that's what he was asking you.
Oh, are you an illegal immigrant?
Am not. I have a Social Security number, and I've done all that required stuff of paying taxes everywhere in every direction.
Yeah, but did you file to become an American citizen or anything like that? Or
well, I've always stayed the nationality. I have the passport of where I came from, and then again before that, I was born in another country again.
I see.
Yeah, so I'm in my third world.
Okay, but you're here legally.
Absolutely, yes.
Okay, the way I see it, you're protected under the federal Constitution then.
Okay, all right.
So no one can violate those rights there.
Uh-huh.
So you plead the federal Constitution for those reasons. That's what basically a U.S. citizen is someone who was born. Perfect example is Godfather 2, where Don Corleone is a 10-year-old kid, is Ellis Island. They even messed up his name. I forget what his real name was, Endolini or something like that. But I guess the guy didn't read well, and he just took his first name and put the name of the town out of Italy he was from, and that's how he became Vito Corleone, right?
Mm-hmm.
And so he was now a citizen.
That happened to most of the people that came over here. They Americanized their names, added E's and vowels, whatever. Go ahead.
Well, anyhow, that's basically the point I'm making, is he would be a 14th Amendment citizen. You and I could never be I can't be 14th Amendment citizen because I was born here. I am one of the, native-born Americans. That applies to anyone that's born anywhere within the geographical boundaries of the United States, not just Indians, which is the way that they want us all to believe that that's what that word means. But you are an American national, technically. If you travel abroad, you're okay, I guess, if you want to say you're a U.S. citizen, but I just stick with the American national no matter where I'm at in the world. That's who I am if someone asks me.
But again, I am not. I am not an American national. I am a legal registered alien.
I would say you need to do a little research on it, Go look into the jurisprudence or whatever and read
Can you hear me?
I hear you. Uh-oh.
Yeah, I can hear you.
Okay.
Oh, is that you, Glenn? Okay, hold on a second.
I'm interrupting here for a reason.
Oh, okay.
Okay, the reason is I do know a little bit about the IRS. I think you're well aware of that because I testified in Irwin Sheff's trial, if you remember. But
yes, I do.
Okay, according to the Internal Revenue, a U.S. citizen, that's somebody who came into this country and became a citizen. They are still required. They are required to pay taxes because they brought their family here to better themselves. Now, if their children are born in this country, then their children do not have to pay taxes because they are natural-born citizens.
So is there a question or something? I mean,
no, that was my statement. That if he came from a foreign country into this country and became a citizen, he is still required to pay taxes.
I did not.
I guess he didn't.
Well, you see, my problem with that is I can't find that in the tax code anywhere. The tax code only applies to people exercising taxable privileges. And when you live here and buy food and a place to live, that is not taxable privilege stuff. So you can't be a taxpayer, owe a tax just because you have a job and you're buying food, you're paying mortgage payments and electric bills. That doesn't make you a taxpayer.
Even not a American citizen, a corporate entity.
I don't care. You can be an American citizen or you can be a U.S. citizen, but if you have a business and you're running some kind of profit-making enterprising activity, then you're a taxpayer, okay? And you probably owe taxes.
Absolutely.
But if you're one of the average everyday guys with a job and doing all those neat little things, living life, that's not what a taxpayer is. The tax code nowhere defines that activity at all as being some process of taxation.
Right.
Yeah, absolutely.
It shows all the taxation that should be applied, like if you're selling diesel fuel or guns or drugs, alcohol, tobacco, those things.
And you have a license to do it. That's the key.
Right.
I could sell alcohol here all day long, and I wouldn't owe no taxes to anybody until I get a license to do it. I'm exercising private business then, which is also a matter of right. So can't be a tax on that either. For me to say, hey, sell you my piano for $15,000, that's a private business deal. I don't have to report that. I don't have to pay any tax on that. Same thing with my house. If I sell my house, I owe nobody no taxes. I'm selling it the same way I would sell you a DVD player or a guitar or a sofa, okay?
Right.
That's not a taxable privilege to sell your personal stuff off, but they've got the average chump and believing it is, and that you got to report this stuff.
Right.
Okay, maybe you do. I don't think you do. I can't find any evidence of it. And when I've ever asked them clearly, straight up, and put the process up and laid it out in a clear petition, they've never answered it at all, except claim it's frivolous. And even then, prove it's frivolous. They can't just say it's frivolous. They have to prove it. Case law. They got to throw statutes that are clearly written in a way that I can understand it. And once again, we have case law that makes it clear that if you're reading laws and you can't understand it, then it can't be a law. Because if you can't understand it, you can't be forced to abide by it, right?
Right. Void for vagueness.
And there you go. Perfect example there too. Yeah, you could use that claim if you can make that clear. Which, once again, anyone reads a tax code, it makes no sense to them because they're reading it like it applies to them, and you're like, this makes no sense, right? Mm-hmm. So how could it be law? And like I said, there is no law anywhere that says that everyone has to pay taxes. That's my problem with it. That's why I chase down the taxpayer thing and make it clear to them that I need them to prove to me that I'm a taxpayer pursuant to these definitions. And they've never done it yet. Be ready to appeal it. Be ready to run it up to interlocutory appeals to the next higher court. Even get the Supreme Court to hear it maybe on some, what would I do, a writ of prohibition? May I even possibly, I don't know. This law is really cool, and there's all neat ways you can kind of tailor it to fashion and work for you if you embrace it, I guess, and have a clear understanding. The same way you might modify an engine to go a little faster, get a little more horsepower because you understand the properties of it and you know how far you can go without going beyond the limits of the structure of the block, right?
When was the last time the Supreme Court heard a case on Internal Revenue Service or tax issues?
Well,
they don't. They won't.
They usually end up in the tax courts, but when it comes to rights issues, if you prop it for them that way, I think you can get them to hear it.
No, they won't. They'll let it. They only take 10 cases a term or whatever it is. They'll shit can it down to the bottom. Excuse my French.
Well, that's okay, but once again, there's your evidence that you can let them get a jury together and then show that that's what they did.
Mm.
I don't know. To me, it's no different than me calling up here telling everybody I'm Jimmy Page from Led Zeppelin or something, you know? And you're all, hang on a minute. Jimmy Page has an English accent in his high voice. He plays guitar, and he's about 70-something years old now. So how does that work? And I'm claiming to be an American, so we all know anyone knows anything about Led Zeppelin knows Jimmy Page. They're an English band. So you guys have enough information there through just common sense and, the social media, I guess, that you pretty much know who Jimmy Page is. There's no way I could be Jimmy Page, right? Mm-hmm. So to me, I take that same attitude when any public servant comes to me and says I have to do things. I say, show me, so to speak, right? And so far, I've stopped them at the lowest level every time. Tons of criminal cases we've done where the pigs just arrest people with no cause of action. They don't even get dismissed. The state attorneys don't even file a notice of information. They do their no notice of information. In other words, they don't even actually file charges. I start the court rules right away. Florida rules have a nice little section. The minute you're arrested, there's all kinds of things you can do in the first 3 hours. There's motions you can file for, and within 21 days, if the state hasn't filed that information, you could do notice for an adversary hearing that they have to have in 5 days after you file the paper, and the state attorney's office got to come in and put their evidence on the table to show that they have clear, reasonable doubt of some kind to believe that you have violated some criminal law, and they can't do that, and they dismiss the case before it even hits an arraignment, okay? Because I know how the court systems work. I know how to get the state attorney's office to have to do their job, and when they can't do it, they know they look stupid, so they just drop the charge, don't even file the charges or drop them or whatever, because I know how the system works. Now, if you're out there armed robbing, grocery stores and liquor stores, I probably can't help you. They got you on camera, they got the money and everything in your pocket. I can't help you with that. Plus, that's what the system's there for. I don't want you robbing grocery stores and liquor stores, right?
Right.
I'm not gonna. I doubt you'd get me to help you with that. You're an idiot if you're doing that stuff. Go get a public defender. Good luck, right?
Right.
So that's the way I look at it. But when they're arresting you for stupid stuff that makes no sense, totally way beyond what they're supposed to be doing, even the statutes don't give them authority to arrest for a misdemeanor that they didn't even see, felonies with no evidence at all, just go arrest because some idiot said you did it, and that's not the way the system is set up to work on paper. That's why the Founding Fathers fought the Revolution, was just get away from that kind of stuff, where the king's men can say you did it, boom, 20 lashes, to the stockade, to the dungeon, or we just hang you with no jury, no evidence, no witnesses to cross-examine. That's why they fought the Revolution, was to make sure we had a system of due process. That's the main vital right we have in this country, is the right to due process. If you don't have that, then you've got no rights. There's no way to protect your property. There's no way to protect yourself if you don't have the right to a fair, just court system. And the only reason why it's not fair and just, not working properly, because the American people don't have no clue how it works. And those that think they do don't know what they're doing. 2 reasons why they hate pro ses. Usually because 90% of them are idiots and don't know what they're doing, and the other 10% kicks their ass all over the place. So that's why they don't like pro ses. So the key is, do you want to be the 10% or the 90%? Most people seem like they're the 90%. They just want to think they can read a few books over a month or two and then go start filing paper and then claim the courts are all corrupt because they're turning down their complaints or dismissing their stuff. And, then, I don't know. It's a real mess. That's all I can tell you.
Okay.
We have one more person with their hand up. Money Mike, you've been unmuted. Go ahead.
Yeah, no, unfortunately I came in late, so technically I thought I didn't know what was going on, but I heard enough right when I got in, and then so it's great to, and I'm glad I know what it's all about. So I'm glad to hear from you, Mr. Page. I'm a great fan of your music, and I hope one day I can meet you. But hey, keep rocking and rolling, man.
Want to hear my new song? I just wrote it.
No.
Watch out, though. They'll get you for stealing.
Yeah.
I was going to sing it for you, but I guess you don't want to hear it, so all right.
I'll tell you what, though. I'll yield back and keep hearing some more of you. If I do, if there's any little bit of time left to chime in again, yeah, I'll try again. But, yeah,
well,
keep up the good work, whatever it is you're doing. All right.
Got about a minute.
All right, thank you.
All right. Well, we've gone to 2 hours.
Well,
good there, Steve. How do you want to educate us anymore?
Well, I mean, I don't know what spoilers do except just tell you to get the law and read it, which reminds me, if anyone's interested in those discs I was telling you about, you can email nasaelp@att.net. Did I say that slow enough?
NASA at NASAELP
at
ATT.net.
That's NET, for those with any spelling.
I put it up in the chat. So
okay.
NASAELP@ATT.net. I want them.
Okay, well.
What do I have to do?
Well, you put a little money in an envelope, you send it to an address, he sends them to you, and I help you get them going,
Okay, how much?
Real simple. Well, there's different things, and I think you can get the whole package for I think $400, I believe. Then you can buy sections, $250 here, $200 there, that kind of thing. But
are you talking about jurisdictionary?
No. This is stuff you can't really. If you wanted to buy this stuff and buy the books and things, it'd probably cost you $10-15 to get it all together. You know what I mean?
Really?
Or you could go to Westlaw or Fine-Law and pay whatever $40, $80, $150 a month to get access to it.
Wow.
That's why you can't go to Corpus Jurisdicundum.com or AmericanJurisprudence.com and just get it and download it. You got to either buy the books or sign up for their, access to their databases. So.
Or go to the library, the law library.
There you go. This is a way to have a law library pretty much in your home to at least get the novice, the guy that's just trying to say, hey, I want to understand how to litigate my rights, how the courts talk about it, and be able to support it with obvious case sightings. Now, when you read through the canon stuff, they'll make it clear there's 4 things that's considered law in this country. So here's the way you have to look at it. If you're not reading these 4 things, which is A, court rules, statutes, constitution, and case law, that's what's considered law. And the court rules are law because usually your state's legislature commands the Supreme Court to write them. That's what makes them law. And same thing in the federal. I believe the legislature commands the Supreme Court of the state to write the United States to write the federal court rules. So that makes them law. And so you need to understand how these things all chain together and how to use them to where you can write pleadings that you can put before a court and make a record so you can do an appeal. And don't even care how bad you get screwed around in the lower court. Just be prepared to file an appeal and show all the errors and how the court violated court rule processes or statutory, type of things they had to do, and that's what you'll win it on is in the appeal then. They'll overturn it or remand it back. And if they had no evidence to start with, they're not going to retry it, so they're going to have to dismiss it, right?
Right.
Even if you're the plaintiff, don't get upset about what the lower court does and what the other side does. Just make the record, and that's easy to do once you understand what the court processes are and show the errors of the court. And then as you set that up, that's going to be your appeal, which they will overturn it on there. Then most people never file appeals because they don't know how, they don't understand what they are, and And lawyers, of course, play the game. You already spent $10,000 to defend you in the stupid case. Now you're going to jail, and he wants $25,000 to do an appeal. Well, you ain't got $25,000, right? You just spent $10,000 to him. That's all you had. So that's why most of these terrible cases stop right there, because the American people don't know how to run their own thing. You don't need a lawyer to do this stuff. I mean, you just have to understand how it works and what crimes are, and what civil actions are, and how the court rules dictate their processes and the elements you have to put within the papers in order to meet the criteria of the cause of action that you're making a claim on. Once you got that all figured out and laid out, which is not easy, but it's not impossibly hard to do. It just takes time. Like playing a musical instrument. That's all I can tell you. I mean, if you don't play the guitar and someone says, hey, play the song in a year or something, well, maybe you will, maybe you won't, right?
Right.
Some people have a natural talent, and they might pick up on it, and the next thing you know, they're playing really well within a short period of time. And like I said earlier, I know people who've been doing it for 30 years, and they still can't play, but that's just people. And everyone's an individual, has their own limitations, I guess, for lack of a better word. And Clint Eastwood, man's got to know his limitations, right?
Right.
Maybe you have a better half. Maybe you got a brother or a buddy who gets parts of it you don't get. Between the two of you, you're the legal duel. Between the two of you, you can go out there and beat anybody around with this stuff. Canons, complaints, bar grievances, know what those are, how to use them, when to use them, and how to work them. There's a lot of things you need to understand. There's no doubt about that, and it's definitely no doubt it's going to take time and patience. And it's really worse if you're caught up in some crap and you're trying to learn it. That's the hardest way to do it. It's a lot better to know this stuff long before they
really.
Because it's difficult to really learn it.
Don't wait till the last minute.
Yeah, and that's why I have problems with people go, I heard you guys talking about it. I quit paying it. I was like, well, why'd you do that?
I know. I've heard.
Week. What do I do to stop it? It's like, why do you figure this out before you stop paying it?
Yeah, really.
So the ignorance.
Stupid.
Yeah, it is kind of dumb, and I hate it when I get phone calls from people like that. They tell me they do those things. It just makes no sense at all. To me, it looks better if you're all paid up when you go in there and sue them for it. Show them how well they've been frauding you all the way up to the very last minute when you filed your case,
Yeah.
And, make them look like complete Al Capones, just a bunch of cutthroats, and get some evidence of some tax deeds they sold on homes and Cook and stuff, and show how they used it to harm other people and how they were going to come harm you with the same process. And, oh, man, there's so many ways to go with it. Just be like a good investigator.
Right.
Investigate every aspect of the issues and put together a clear, concise essay, I guess, so to speak, of the events and timelines and things, and get that all laid out well. Name everybody involved, what their job description is, and what they're supposed to be doing, and make sure it's clear to any idiot reading your paperwork exactly what the issues are. Even if you understand the technicalities, you don't always have to go there. It's like the people for foreclosures. They want to get all caught up in the deeds of trust things. Like, dude, don't go there unless you got to. Just start out with the simple facts, You got a complainer who says J.P. Morgan Chase, and you got all this paperwork. They're using it as some Chase Manhattan Bank. Not even the same people. So start there, Don't start breaking into all your wonderful knowledge of the foreclosure process and UCC code. Plus, why let them know that stuff right off the bat? It just gives up your element of surprise, if you ask me.
The whole process of doing research is like an adventure. You're on an adventure of discovery, because the more you research and read, the more aha moments you're going to have, and think, oh my God, they're doing this, and they shouldn't be doing that, and they're, oh my God, they're doing this, and that's not the way it's supposed to be done, and it's discovery the whole time. It's you find out all these neat things. But go ahead.
That goes on every day, and like you're saying, here's the proof. Like the Orlando Charter makes it clear that ordinance only apply to city-owned leased property. It says it right there in the powers and duties section. So when they come to my neighbor's house, threatening to steal his boat or cut his grass and try to charge him $500 for it, that's a great suit. Mm-hmm. What a nice extortion tactic that's like me coming painting your house and saying, "Give me $5,000, I'll sue you."
Well, I have a no trespass sign on my door on the front of my house. I have it also on every window on my house, and I also have it on the dash of my truck. And it tells them if they enter the premises or take photographs, they're going to pay me $10,000, and they have to agree. And it says this is a contract, and I haven't had any problems with that thing. I'll tell you. No, I refer any county or state or government employee that comes to my door, I refer them to the sign, and then I ask them, do you wish to continue now? I mean, I've been learning more as I go. Every time somebody does come to my house, I go a little further with it, and they leave me alone. So
Well,
I haven't done the tax thing yet, though. That I'm really, intrigued by it, and I really would like to do more research so I could do it like you did.
well, I think everybody should.
Yeah, I mean, they keep jacking up the taxes. I'm paying almost $4,000 a year in taxes. It's like, what?
Yeah, with no clear understanding why you pay this
Yeah,
stuff.
when I started out, 23 years ago, when I moved into this house, it was like 1,800 or 1,900. It wasn't, 3-4 grand. Like, what the hell? There's nothing different. And I think, well, they're raising it because the money's no good. It's not like anything's changed. It's just the money's no good, just like with everything else.
Well, once again, I try not to get into things I can't really prove, and it's hard to get the average guy under a bridge to believe that the money's no good.
Well, I mean, if a dollar bought you a quart of milk, last year, and now it's $2, and the milk's the same, it hasn't changed. It's the money.
Well, there's no doubt that the fractional debtor banking system is not proper, and there's no doubt about that. I'm all on board with that, but you're gonna politics start at the bottom, okay? So everything's local. As long as if you can get your county working in accordance with your Constitution, the charters, and the statutes, then you don't have to care what Washington or anybody or even the capital idiots do. It won't affect you then.
Yeah.
And eventually it'll trickle up, and that's the only way you're going to fix it. This ain't something we're going to fix from the top. That's why this whole president thing is like I don't pay any attention to it. It's all a bunch of crap. Doesn't mean anything. And then again, Donald Trump and Hillary Clinton, they got no idea what the Constitution says. They have no idea what America's all about either, okay? That's why we've had these problems for about the last 30, 40 years. We don't have any presidents that understand or read the Constitution. None of them have no thing about it.
They don't give a shit about it.
Well, they don't think they're supposed to know, okay? They're just as dumb as everybody else. They've been dumbed down the same television, gobbledygook, newspaper crap that everybody's been bred off of.
Yeah.
Everything they know comes from the TV. That's it. They don't read constitutions, Bill of Rights, Declaration of Independence, or, whatever, Federalist Papers, Articles of Confederation, court rules, just case law in general.
Well, we're, been programmed by our programming.
There you go. Yeah, why did you call your programming package when they sell it to you?
That's exactly what it is.
It is, yeah.
You know what? I was listening to the radio last night when I was laying in the bed, and do you ever listen to Coast AM?
I used to listen to them all the time back in the late 80s and 90s,
Yeah, me too. Well, I still hear it once in a while. I turn it on. But last night, I forget who was on, but he had mentioned about how when Bill Clinton and Hillary Clinton were out of office, they made some kind of a deal with Putin to approve some kind of a thing for them, some type of, I don't remember what it was exactly, but Putin paid them $1 million on the future promise that as soon as Hillary became the Secretary of State, she would approve or pass legislation to get him what he wanted, and that happened.
Well, there's no doubt the people that work within the system abuse it and use it for things it ain't supposed to be used for, and the people just sit back and watch reruns of Seinfeld and Frasier.
I think it doesn't matter who the president is, whoever they are, they're going to get in there and make deals like that and just, fatten their own pocketbooks. They don't give a damn about us.
And the people sit back and let them do it.
Well, I don't, and you don't.
Oh, well, yeah, there's not much you and I can do, but if enough.
Well, if we're doing it, then there's a million others that are doing it, I can guarantee it.
Like I said, if you can get it all working right there in your local, you won't have to care what's going up above it, okay? Because it won't hurt. It won't come down to you. It won't be able to trickle down there. If you have a sheriff in the county who understands what his job is, you got the people in the county taxing only what they're allowed to tax, and only running what phases of government they're supposed to, according to their charters and the administrative codes and the statutory process and the Constitution. You get it all working that way. We have a wonderful system of law written on paper. Like I said before, no one's reading it. No one's forcing the public servants to follow it. That's all.
I don't know. They're so corrupt here in California, though. The judges are paid off. Everybody's paid off. The sheriff's paid off. So I don't know if you have much to go on here in California. It's just so corrupted.
It's that way everywhere. It's that way everywhere. That's why if you do the paperwork well and you got everything laid out, it'll never go to court. That's why you hear about those kind of cases. They go on all the time.
Or they will disappear you.
Well, like I say, they just pay the problem off. They throw money at it and make it go away because they got tons of it to do that with. That's the best you're going to get right now is keep them away from your property, keep them out of your life. They'll leave your family and your cars alone once you go sue them for this stuff. And they'll just screw with the guy across the street next door till he figures out what you did and do the same thing to them. That's how we're going to get our country back. One house at a time, one street at a time, one neighborhood at a time, one city, and work your way up.
Yeah, that's right.
Keep the code idiots and the pawns out of your neighborhood, which has gone on here real well for about the last 5 years. Code enforcement messes with nobody within about 2-3 street radius over this area, because they know that we know what to do. And they know we know that they're not supposed to be doing what they're doing. Instead, they're making a bunch of white trash people rich, okay? That's all they're doing.
Sure. Hey, Bart, did you want to be unmuted?
Yes, ma'am.
Well, you've been unmuted.
Am I free and clear to navigate?
You are.
Well, let me throttle up. On what this guy just said, I'm like, yeah, I agree with a lot of what he said.
Steve?
But, what? Whoever your last guy was talking.
Steve. That's our guest speaker.
Is that still Steve?
Yes, he's our guest speaker.
I think he's talking about the guy who called.
Are you like a ventriloquist?
Oh, come on. Did you have something to say, my dear? I'm going to end the call.
I'm just messing with him a little bit. No, I
know. Well, we're already over the 2-hour mark.
Everybody's saying, this is what happened and this is what's going on. And what everybody leaves out is, what can Joe Bag of Donuts do to make a change?
To write complaints and use the court systems. That's the whole bottom line here.
Oh, really? And we're going to use a court system that's so corrupt, it doesn't matter what you throw down.
It's really not that bad. If you're in the right court with the right issues, it appears to work pretty well.
Yeah, well, that's if you're.
That's in your location. Ask the lady that's hosting this call how that goes.
We've had no problem filing civil rights suits in the district federal court over city and county employees. They've given us no guff about it. In fact, we've had no interaction with the federal court except filing the complaint. All they do is settle out of court.
Yeah. That's great. And your situation, and you just didn't just come out of the blue and do this, right?
No, he studied for a long time.
Well, no, I understand that part. That's not what I'm getting at. What I'm saying is, this guy studied for a long time.
Yeah.
I've talked to this guy at length, and he gave me something, and I went and researched everything, and I'm like, holy Jesus. Wow. And I linked everything he gave me. So I give it to somebody else and go, look, if you don't believe me, just check the links. Don't trust what I say. Because, I'm tired of the new treasure hunt. Right? Which is, they say some stuff kind of bilious, and they go, oh, you got to research it yourself. Because you have to be worthy to accept your
but what Carl says is true too. Though you if you're code pleading, they can turn around and you show up in court and the code's different. It's been changed now. It'll say C.
No. I understand that, but how would you, Angela, or anybody else on this call, divine that from what you've been taught? Define what Carl's talking about. How would you know to do what Carl does?
Well, I in no way know how to do what Carl does. I only know from listening to him and, seeing him use it in action, but I've never done it.
Stop for a moment. You had to listen to him, though, didn't you?
Well, of course.
To figure that out. Now, had you never listened to Carl, would you know how to do that?
Oh, no. We all need
what these people are saying is, well, you should just know. And I'm like, how? By divine intervention?
Nobody is saying you should just know. Nobody is saying that. He didn't say you should just know. Everybody is saying you have to study. You can't just know. You have to apply yourself. If you don't, well, then you're going to, screw up somewhere down the line, and they're going to eat you up and spit you out because that's what they do. You definitely have to study. You have to learn, not just study the words, but understand what they mean. There's definitions that, we should all learn that we don't know. I mean, people in general just don't know what the word person means, just to name one. But I always start out with that one. Look up the word person. Just do that. It plants a seed. It gets people going. And Steve, are you still there?
Yes, ma'am. Yeah.
Okay, good. I guess we're going to call it a night.
Okay.
Did you have anything more to say?
Well, no, not really. The person thing, just to give you a quick on definitions, you just have to look at the definitions of how they're used where they're at. Nothing wrong with the word person. If you and I are talking, we call each other persons, that's fine. That's just a common use of the word. But the statutory use of the word is definitely different in a lot of places of the code. But you go look at the criminal code, person is usually defined as a human, 14 years of age, blah, 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 because, so they do it there. But
but a human, if you look up the word human and you want to get really down into the nitty-gritty, it'll say imbecile, monster.
Well, as long as they got the language in there, it would lead the average guy to believe to clearly define who they're talking about. So great, Homo sapien, whatever you want to use, The key is, as long as it's clear to the average guy that that's who they're talking about, then we're okay. So 14 years of age, human being, I'm okay with that. I understand now they're talking about the actual physical man or woman. But when they're using individual and corporations and companies and limited liabilities, trusts, and other legal entities as a definition to tell me that's me, I have a problem with that, okay?
Government employee,
Yeah,
me too.
No way that term person can apply to me in the capacity that I sit in, and I can prove that. That's what it's all about, and showing how they're using this particular phase of government process to deprive me of a right. That's really what it's all about, and that's exactly what they're doing every step of the way. Whether the cop arrests you without a cause of action or over stupid driver's license issues, crazy things like that, which are not an unarrestable offense. But they do it all the time, get away with it because nobody has a clue what to do about it, right?
Right.
That's our
have
problem.
to study. Yeah.
The people don't know how their court systems work on paper, not the rhetoric. The way I look at it, you shouldn't have to listen to nobody and nobody's processes, okay? It's the clearly written laws and procedures on papers. That's it. It's no process. It's just the way the owner's manual lays out the court systems. Read that. That's all. That's why I used to have such a hard time with Mike Golden. He act like I have some special knowledge granted to me from God or something, Like, dude, I only learned this because I read their books. And all my mentors, all the guys that I always enjoyed, whether it's Bobby Lohman, for instance, he's pretty much into reading the court rules and working the court process. Dave Merlin, Randy Kelton, Rick Schramm guys, there's ones that have even died I forgot about, people that really understood how the system worked, and they get it to work.
Charlene Sorry about that. Charlene Music is asking, have you had to defend yourself as the straw man?
No. I don't know. I don't have a straw man. No. I don't run any corporations where I have to have a two-phase type of identity, In other words, I am not, Robert Plant of Led Zeppelin, so to speak. I'm just the guy, Robert, over here that used to sing in a band that lives at a house now and raises my children, has a wife. You know what I mean? Yeah. So I don't have a straw man. So why would I ever have to defend that?
Right.
I don't understand why people go into the straw man and want to get all this corporate law involved in their rights. It's just the two don't go together at all, really.
She wants to know if have you had your name as a DBA? Have you gotten any DBA? Doing business as?
Oh, no name there.
No, he worked for NASA. He was
I was a guy exercising my right to work for a corporation that needed my knowledge, service, and skills.
That's right.
That's the right. That's all I was doing there.
That's it.
That's all I've done my whole life, okay? So I've never been a head of any CEO of a corporation receiving income and profits from proceeds of the corporate activities. None of that stuff the tax code talks about that would make me a taxpayer.
Have you ever had any dealings with the traffic court?
Yeah, not very many. I've helped a lot of people with stuff, but once again, we ain't had bad success there either because most time the cop is using a statute that could never apply to the process they were using to begin with. They're real bad at that.
Yeah.
So it's real easy to trip them up and get the judge kind of shaking his head, and he's like, what do you say we dismiss the thing? Or I think the prosecutor tells cop not to show up because half of them are dismissed that way. No witness, cop didn't show, so it was, dismissed.
There you go.
And that's all because I understand how the process is supposed to work, and I can prove the abuse of the public servant to deny someone of property or some right under color of some statute. That's what a civil rights suit's all about. As long as you understand the elements and work it that direction for every sentence you write, where it reads that way, it's like writing a love novel, but you don't talk about love, so it's not a love novel, right?
No.
So if I don't talk how to use a civil rights suit and don't talk about how rights were violated and prove, put evidence. Once again, you're the plaintiff, so the burden of proof is on you to prove that your rights were violated under some statutes or ordinances or customs or what are all the terms. You just have to read 42.983. The names list about 8 things there, I think, you know. Statutes, ordinances, rules, regulations, customs, policies, all that kind of stuff. And that's where you're going with it. It's just a policy for them to pull me, stop me in my vehicle, which to me is an act of road piracy under the criminal code here, and claim I owe the municipal corporation money because this guy says I did something. No injury, no damaged property, nothing. That's impossible. That violates bills of attainder, every other thing the Constitution says you can't have, right?
No. Yeah.
I found that when you put those issues up, real simple. Like I say, don't show everybody how much brains you have. Just lay out the basic facts of the violation of the right and put it before your maybe 6-year-old kid or, I don't know, someone could read it and understand where you're going. Go, gee, Daddy, you say he violated your rights when he took you out of your car, right? There you go, son. So that means my jury's going to get it. The court's going to even get it, okay?
Yeah.
I didn't turn it into some complicated thesis that you need a brain surgeon to understand or get some tax expert gurus in there to explain it to somebody. If you're going that way with it, then you're not going to get it to work, okay? You're just going to muddle it down before you even get started. That's probably my best advice to give to anyone. Just keep it short, sweet, and simple. Show clearly what constitutional rights you have under your state constitution, and show how this guy violated it and what statutes he claimed to use under authority to do so with.
Okay.
And I like to cover the criminal code. Show that he violated some trespass, some assault, a battery of some kind maybe when he did it, or just some taking, and use those statutes, theft, whatever, and show that, and then it should lead up to the deprivation of the right. What right was violated when he violated this criminal code under this color of authority of this other statute? Does that make sense?
Well, then what do you say to people that say that the Constitution wasn't written for us?
Well, once again, I can't find any evidence of that. Show me the law that says that.
Well, I mean, it says for their posterity, right?
Well, the other people. And everyone I know believes it applies that way, so I run it that way. Same thing, I don't care about their oaths or anything. I assume they have one because they claim to be working for a municipal corporation, so I go after them for violating it. Let them show they ain't got one, okay? That makes it even worse. So, like I say, I don't get caught up in the stupid stuff. Just stay, I'm the king, master. These people are my servants that are violating my law, period. Same way if you come to my house, stick guns in my face, and take my stuff. I'm going to come kill you, right?
Right.
So why wouldn't I do the same thing when my public servants violate my rights? Go after them. I'm not kill. Well, I like the way my one friend told me years ago. If you kill them, you can't take their pensions and their stuff from them. So sue them first, then kill them later.
There you go.
That's the only best advice I can give you there. So you want to take the pensions, you want to get all that money and get that big risk management check first. And then if you feel the need that they shouldn't exist on the earth, then, knock yourself out, right?
I guess. I'm not into violence myself, although I have a rope hanging over here that has a few of their names on it, but anyway.
Well, Clint Eastwood, Dirty Harry, made it clear, and I totally agree. Nothing wrong with shooting as long as the right people get shot.
Okay, well.
I'll link on that one, So, meanwhile, you don't have to shoot nobody. Just go sue them. Just go put them over a bridge for doing the stupid stuff they're doing to you and for a paycheck, okay? That's organized crime, people. When you look up the definitions and they explain that anyone that benefits or receives some financial gratitude for doing these criminal acts is a criminal, right?
Yeah.
So we have a simple criminal code, and you have to read it, understand how to embrace it and use it. Live with it, sleep with it, and it becomes a wonderful thing. It becomes your best friend.
I like that.
Once again, perception's what it's all about, too. If you already think you're a slave, you're some subject, giving up all your rights, and the courts are all corrupt, and then you're done before you even get started. You've already talked yourself out of it before you even try to do anything about it. So you're not going to get anywhere. It's like a bad soldier who's just scared to shoot the other side. Well, eventually he's going to get shot, right?
Yeah.
So,
yes, he is.
That's just like I say. Unfortunately, it's a dog-eat-dog world. Like the strong survive, or the ones that can, survive, right? So
yeah, that's it.
You can't help everybody be a great soldier or everybody be a great whatever and survive well in the world. I mean, you can try, but you can only do so much without putting your own life in jeopardy, and that seems like it'd be an oxymoron then, right?
Yeah.
So key is just help who you can help, and mainly you got to help yourself. That's really what it boils down to, is educate yourself of how to defend your rights and your property from your public servants. And it ain't filing a bunch of bogus paper and crap like that either. It's using the court systems. I don't see anyone get anywhere with that stuff. I get people all the time, notice the man letter. I've sent 5 of them. It's like, well, so if they took your property tax rolls? No, they doubled it. Now they're trying to put fines on it. Well, then then it shows that doesn't work. Why do you keep doing it?
Yeah.
Obviously, there must be another way.
Must be, huh?
Well, and there is. There really is. That's the point, is that I have problem with the, the patriot community kind of people, legal reform, whatever you want to call them people, You just read the rules, you understand how the court systems work, and you force them to follow the process through canons, complaints, bar grievances on the attorneys, and it really does mess them up because I know their insurance companies screw with them because I send them to their insurance companies. Lloyd's of London does about all of it, so as long as you send the stuff there, they're going to get it somewhere or another. Western Pacific, I think even State Farm in Florida has policies with some of these idiots that, municipalities and things with their workman's comp stuff, things like that, through the risk management. And that's what you're tugging on. That's what you're tugging on. You're tugging on the pocketbook. Mm-hmm. And that's when they have no problem doing whatever they got to do to shut you up and make you go away if you really got the goods on them. And you've clearly laid it out to where any idiot can understand what you're talking about. And I don't seem to have much problem. I can sit around and talk to people and explain it to them, and they'll agree with me that it all makes perfect sense, and they'll see the statutes and go, okay. And they kind of have that attitude now. They just want to hear the other side. I want to hear what the tax collector has to say. Well, he's not here, right? So go talk to him. See if you get better conversation I had with him,
Well, I wish I could go with you to see these people that you help and the courts, and I learned from watching others. I like to go to court and watch people take on the system. Even if they lose, it's you still learn something,
Watching's no fun. I could watch guys on the dirt bike do the jumps, but to me it's more fun to get on the dirt bike and do the jumps myself. You know what I mean?
Yeah. Well, but before you could do that, you got to learn to ride first.
Well, yeah, there you go. Yeah, well, that's why you buy a mini bike or some little bike and start putting around something that can't get hurt on if you fall off of it.
You like that hands-on training, huh?
Well, that's how it works with me. I just started reading the stuff. I didn't go to any schools. I didn't really have anybody sitting there showing it to me. I was just, I guess, educated enough, read enough, whatever, where I could read stuff and comprehend what I read. And
if you go into court and you watch cases go down, you learn a lot. I don't care what anybody says. I mean, reading is, of course, you've got to study, but to watch the actual process go down, you learn a lot just by watching.
Well, 10, 15 years ago, I thought I was, but then I started reading the court processes and found out that most of the stuff I was watching, they were doing it wrong. And I go to my courts today, and most of the time they're doing it wrong.
Well, you could sit there and pick out the stuff they're doing wrong then, right?
Yeah, I can sit in a courtroom for probably an hour and find probably 20 court rules the judge or somebody's violated by something they did. We've won lots of cases on that. My favorite was an animal control case. I was helping my buddy Jerry with some elderly friend of his he knew they were screwing with because she had like some fat belly potted pig, some kind of name like that.
Yeah, pot-bellied pig.
There you go. She had like 5 of them. According to the ordinance, they only have 3. So they're screwing with her. And anyhow, their witness to something was some French Creole woman that couldn't speak any English. So they were going to let the brother-in-law or somebody like that translate for her. Well, right away we objected and said that Rule 14-100 makes it clear that all court hearings have to have a certified translator provided to the court system. And so right away they kind of okay. The judge is looking for the court rule on her computer, I guess. But the prosecutor, the county prosecutor Chu, had to come around the back of us and look at our court rule book because he didn't have one with him. But you could see he looked up at the judge because she's trying to find it, and I don't think she could find the rules either. So I guess he gave her a wink. But once they saw it, right away she is, okay, well, we're just going to conclude this hearing now, and we'll get it to you in the mail. And I think 2 days later we got this, order dismissing the case. Because we just pointed out a clear court rule of a violation that they were fixing to do, and we caught them on it. And it was obvious they didn't know the rule because they've been getting away with the last 15 years letting the brother-in-law, sister-in-law, or the daughter do the translation stuff, which is totally violates the court rules. Just little things like that got this little, code enforcement case dismissed or whatever you want, animal control. Just because we pointed out a little, flaw in their process that they weren't following the court rules, which you would have won that in an appeal in a heartbeat. Appeals court would overturn that in 5 seconds once they saw that, you can't do that. Court rule makes it clear. It has to be a certified interpreter somewhere in a courthouse. You have to bring up here and have ready to go. $50, they probably would have had to pop out for that or something. I don't know how they paid people. But right away, the judge didn't know what to do because she looked stupid right away, so she just shut down everything right there and then. And like I said, 2-3 days later in the mail, got an order claiming the case had been adjudicated and all that stuff, and therefore dismissed, that kind of thing.
That's interesting.
So it just shows you how the little things and what you can do with these people, because they're not really following the process, which jurisdictionary I thought was very good at explaining that in my early days.
Right, and they just depend on you not knowing.
That's and the lawyers don't get it either. They're not really reading the court rules and really fluent with it. The judges aren't fluent with it. They're just getting away with what they've been getting away with because nobody calls them on what they do.
Well, I think we're going to end it on that note.
Well, that's the best note to end it on, because that is the problem. The system's broke because nobody in the system understands how it works, and the people outside the system don't know how it works. So with the two all ignorant, the system's just completely broken, not working for us. And that's the best note to end it on.
Okay. Very good. Thank you, everybody. It's been fun. Thank you, Steve. I appreciate it so much. I'm so glad you finally made it on. We learned a lot. This episode is going to be downloaded 1,000,000 times, I'm sure, because it was really interesting. You guys that have your hand up, did you want to say something real quick? Money Mike and Glenn?
Yes.
Did you want to say something real quick before we leave?
Yeah, quick thing. All the common law practitioners out there, you can still use all this stuff that he's talking about, like as an exhibit, like in your claim and stuff. It's like you box it off and say see Exhibit A and stuff. So yeah, there's no reason why you can't learn all this stuff.
Yeah, you just have to apply yourself.
And the common law rules have just been codified into the statutory process. That's why it's kind of code pleading to express the common law points. Trespass is a common law writ, and it's been codified here as 810.104, I think, in the Florida statute. So that's all. Yeah, he's right, though. That's how. But basically, you have to implement the common law through the code process. That's all.
Okay, Mike, did you want to say something?
Start hitting the law library and blammo, just like I'm doing every week.
There you
all
go.
right. Thank you very much. I'm done. You can mute me out.
Okay. Glenn, did you have anything to say?
Yeah, can you hear me?
Yeah.
Okay. I have two questions for Steve. Number one is, do you have a license plate on your car?
Yes.
Okay. And number two is there a statute of limitations on them stealing your property for that extortion that they call tax?
Nope. That would come underneath the basically void judgment process. In other words, if the law didn't support it from its inception, the statute of limitations cannot protect the legal act.
Okay. Alrighty, I appreciate it.
Yeah, go to like Amger and look up statute of limitation stuff. It pretty well explains how that has to be worked.
Okay.
Hey. Well, thank you, guys. Thank you, Steve. Thanks, everybody. It's been fun. We'll do it again next Thursday, I hope. Hopefully it'll be cooler. And I don't know who we'll have on, but it should be interesting. It always is. Again, thanks, Steve. I love you. Thank you so much. And if something comes up, please let me know. We'll have you on again, and you can update us.
Okay.
All right. Thanks, everybody. Good night.